The moon was hot, the time was right, and you were looking so good. Our body heat was rising, I thought you understood. We had some fun together, but I never promised you forever.
It's not my style.
No, no, no.
You can't handcuff the wind, and if you try, you're gonna fail. It's like trying to put thunder in jail.
You can't handcuff the wind. I feel the pull of the open road. I'm heading out into the night. Gotta loosen up your grip, girl. You're holding on a little too tight. We rolled the dice, we played the game. Now every card's been turned. Girl, if you're trying to hold on to fire,
You're gonna get burned the wind, and if you try, you're gonna fail. It's like trying to put thunder in jail.
you can't handcuff the wind. She calls my name, there's itching in my feet. I got an engine that you can't tame, even with your mouth so sweet. 1,000 kisses and sad goodbyes, but it's too late for any more. The ferry to the mainland leaves at 6. I gotta be there 20 minutes before. You can't handcuff the wind, and if you try, you're gonna fail. It's like trying to put thunder in jail. You can't handcuff the wind, and if you try, you're gonna fail. It's like trying to put thunder in jail. You can't handcuff the wind. If you try to fence me in, I'll break down those fences and run like a stallion in the night. I'm gonna burn so bright like a white hot flame till everybody knows my
You can't handcuff the wind, and if you try, you're gonna fail. It's like trying to put thunder in jail. You can't handcuff the wind,
And if you try, you're gonna fail. It's like trying to put thunder in jail. You can't handcuff the wind.
There you go. Hello everybody, can you hear me all well and good? I'm gonna hope that's so. Yeah, it's a bit grey. Can't cage the beast. No, it's not you can't cage the beast, because you can cage a beast. What you can't do is you cannot handcuff the wind, and you can't put thunder in jail. Sounds good. Well, that's because, well, you know, the reason I'm able to do this is because live streaming was a nightmare a couple of months ago when I came to this new place, because just nothing was working and everything kept fucking up. But now I've acquired one of these little things, lavalier, these clip-on, the not the the Britney mic. This is the lavalier, and I've got that there clipped down there because it's a bit sensitive. And I don't know if you know this about me, but I tend to talk very loudly all the time. So I have to put it down there where my stomach is. High tech, not specially, but it's and I've even, to show you that I'm back. I'm doing little tricks. Going to be doing little bits now that that people who are successful on YouTube do, because they're proven to work. Little subtle details, which is why, rather than having to keep telling you to thumb up the video and click the bell, I've now got these fetching badges here, which are actually these magnet accessories, magnetized accessories. Very, very, whatever. I don't know. But they're there, so I don't need to keep telling you, because you've got this right here, right in your mush. So And I did have another one. There are others. There are others here. There's a whatever the fuck that is. I don't know what that is. And there's this, which I think is the logo for the company that sold them. I did want a bottle of Prime, a bottle of Prime badge. They didn't have them. Hello, mate. How are you? Hello, everybody. Look. I know it's been this. I think this is the longest I've gone. This is the longest I've gone without making a video for nearly 15 years, and it wasn't planned. I'm sorry. I hope you've managed to find other YouTubers out there. There's a couple. I know it will never seem as good, but it's there. And yeah. But now I'm here. Now I'm back, and there's no specific reason why I haven't made a video in a long time. Best way to put it is didn't feel like it. Couldn't be bothered. But truth be told, I've been pretty sort of burnt out and just knackered, and just drained for the last 2 years. It's not that I have no ideas. I've had ideas, as always, coming out of my fucking ass, right? Can't move for fucking ideas. People are losing their shit about AI making. I cannot wait till AI comes to the point where literally I just have to tell them the idea for my video, right, in a nutshell, and then they can it will just make it for me, and then I'll do some, I can do the voiceover, or fuck it, if they got I'll do this, I might even, or if they can program my voice, that'd be amazing, but it happens to the best. It's not been a bad thing. Don't get the idea that I've been like just. There's been, like as with everything, in my life, there's never, my life's never dull. It's like the war. It's there's days when whether lots happening or not much is happening, or it's good or it's always good. It's never just like, how's things, Rich? All right, Okay, look, I know you need my thoughts on lots of stuff, but it's been 3 months. A lot of stuff has happened. There's plenty of things we're going to need to get onto. We can, I can, there's one or two things that spring to mind. In my mind, but there's a few favourite moments. But without question, we will get to. So okay, so just in the last 3 months, okay. First of all, let's get the most important thing out of the clear. Wings of Redemption is going to destroy Boogie in that boxing match. I will stand by that. I'm not putting any money on it, and I'm not watching it. I'm not going to sit up to watch, two overinflated fucking space hoppers filled with lard nearly pass out after a minute. No. You've lost track of Wings of Redemption. It's pretty much the same thing. I mean, the great thing about people like we is that after a while the pattern is there. It's the same thing over and over again. Wings, to be fair, got he hasn't freshened again. But the thing about Wings is just that Wings had a modicum of I felt that even though Wings is his own worst enemy, I still could feel sympathy for him. Boogie, on the other hand, is someone who goes out of his way to try as hard as he can to make you feel sympathy and feel sorry for him, and I would say bordering on a lot of times, sometimes going into just emotional manipulation and blackmail, and I can't fuck it, and it drives me fucking mad. And he's even doing it he's even doing it with this boxing match. He's playing, I'm the underdog. You're both underdogs. Who the fuck is who's beneath you? You know. Daniel Larson doesn't ring a bell. I was watching a video the other day about a guy called Nathan. I think it was Nathan Larson. Yeah, he was a lovely bloke. No, that stuff I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about. The people going to people's houses is fucking. You know, I don't. You know, there's no need for that. That's scary. As someone who's had his docs dropped, as somebody who has had people phone his house. I've had people, as I've mentioned before. You know, because I like, you know, repeating this as much as possible. I've had people come to my house and put hate mail and death threats through my letterbox. So, you know, I've had people turn up at. I had a geezer turn up at a gig once with a canister of fucking petrol and a katana, but we knew he was coming, fortunately, so the police were there to make sure he got the help he needed. Well, I don't think, you know, the whole rise. Do you know what? There's something, you know. I don't mind. I know that rise and fall thing is seen as a genre, but there are some channels that I just think some channels do it well. I like the way, you know. I like how, you know. I like Right Opinion does it well. I think, you know, Down the Rabbit Hole did it well when he wasn't spending fucking nearly 2 years on one video. But then there are people who just do it awful. Either they just do it in the most, like, you're just making videos other people have already made, and and you're just, you know, and it's got low effort. I think was his name Internet AJ or Internet AJ. He was a fucking God. He was about, he had the charisma of a grinning doorknob, that fucker. And then, but you know, there's some people who just, like, they do it. It's almost cynical. It's like, this is all they do is talk about people who used to be famous and now aren't. And I'm like, who the fuck are you? You know, happens to everyone, mate. You know, there's very few who can. I only use my blade. That guy, he's disgusting. That guy. I mean, he's just literally. I mean, I don't think he's anything at this point. I mean, he shouldn't have been anything after that fucking. After he was basically caught on camera sneaking into a drunk girl, unconscious girl's room and raping her. You know. I mean, there's a guy who just, like, shouldn't have been on the internet in the first place. Good. He isn't long for this world. Good. He's been here too long. Oh, Temple OS. That is one of those videos that I was in fucking. I cry at almost. I mean, I get properly emotionally invested in anything I watch. You know, whether it's fiction, you know, a documentary. If I, you know, and that Temple OS one just broke me. You know, I felt so fucking. You know, it's so fucking tragic. You know. You didn't know about Mindhorn, mate. It's just, oh fucking hell. I was watching it with a friend of mine the other night who hadn't seen it, and at one point there's one that when they talk about that song, when they talk about Mindhorn, when he tried to have a pop career and he wrote this song called "You Can't Handcuff the Wind," when they said that title, I'm not joking, we had to pause the video, and it took about 45 minutes for us to stop laughing, and we were laughing for like the next two just at that line. You know, you've never been able to. I always finish stuff. I never stop. You know, I like having I think it's good to cry. I don't think crying is a bad thing. You know, you should. You know, it's a good thing. You know, and I like having a grizzle. I've got like list. There are some things I've got that are like the things that make me cry every time I watch them, like scenes from films or songs or TV shows and stuff. Every time. And sometimes it's nice to have it's nice to know that you've still got feelings, you know what I mean? Let me tell you, I'll tell you the point with Boogie recently, where I just, to the point where, and you know, I did something I normally wouldn't do. When Boogie announced that he had cancer, which is and the cancer he's got is a type of blood cancer, which conveniently is the least dangerous and almost, like, what annoys me is when people make videos in which they are talking about something very serious, very upsetting, very, very, very real, and they still pose for and make a thumbnail for it to get attention, to get people. And I'm like, don't, just fucking don't, because immediately I'm like, what are you doing? And Boogie did that. He had a picture. His thumbnail was him saying, like, it said cancer above and it was him, and it wasn't a still from the video. There's another one that does it. Who's that fucking God, an annoying manipulative bitch? What's her name? Susie Sue. She was the mukbanger, and which immediately makes her, lowers my opinion of her right there, because I can't stand the mukbang genre. But she had a fucking feud with Nick Ricardo, and she did like, people talk about, she did a true crime mukbang, and I'm like, just fuck off. Just fuck off. Fuck, and I cannot overstate this second bit, off. Right. And the thumbnail was her looking at the camera, like, with this, like, with this sad face on, and I'm like, what are you doing? Oh yes, while we're talking about this fucking very serious and violent and disgusting, horrifying crime that happened to people, when we're talking about actual real people who were victims of horrific these horrific actions by people, while we're doing that, I'm just going to eat the entire McDonald's menu. And I'm like, just go eat a bag of dicks. Am I still on? Oh, hold on. Oh yeah, cool, yeah. What do I hate mukbang for? Because the mukbang community, I'm willing to accept that maybe in its origins at one point, the mukbang sort of thing had some, a value to it that gave it something, that meant that it connected with people, and obviously it still does. But on YouTube, the mukbang community is just a cover for drama. It's one of those things that people who want to engage in just, flame wars and drama, but they don't want to be, but they haven't got the fucking, they're not like Keemstar. Say what you want about Keemstar. Keemstar doesn't dress it up. He's like, no, I'm here for the ments. Right? I'm here for the trolling, the drama. I'm gonna report on it. I'm gonna instigate it. I'm gonna cause it. I'm gonna exacerbate it, and that's how I roll. Fine, do that, right? But just fucking do it. And also the other thing about a mukbang, and I like food videos. I like eating challenges, competitive. I like competitive eating challenges. I like fucking, I like cooking channels. I love stuff. I subscribe to and watch. I even like videos of people going and just eating food and enjoying it, and actually sort of like experiencing new stuff and reviewing it. That's fun too. But mukbangs don't do that. It's just gluttony over the course of an hour. It takes no skill. It takes no fucking, ability. It takes no talent. Anybody could do it. Literally anybody. Tomorrow. You could just, all you need, once you just get your stuff to make the video, and you could do it, right? Well, of course, everything's a community. Everything's always been a community. I ain't got a problem with, what annoys me about communities is about the word community is when people sort of try and suggest that you, being part of a community, have some kind of, you're obliged to sort of defend it, or to stick. You shouldn't be causing. And I'm like, I'm not here for your fucking. I didn't come here to make friends. I mean, okay, Nick Ricardo is the you know, that's the sort of, that's the best way to just sum up, right? And Nick Ricardo is, you know, this isn't a fucking, this isn't a video, this isn't entertainment. This is a guy who needs help. He needs an intervention. He's not well. He has a fucking very, very severe eating disorder that he has managed to fucking monetize, and people are fucking going along with it. And when he eventually dies, and it won't be long, I've never watched a single second of his videos. I've never fucking clicked. I don't, even his thumbnails make me fucking feel sick. And I don't feel, you know, I've got pretty strong stomach, right? And when he eventually kills over and dies of a septuple fucking heart attack, anybody who has fucking in any way encouraged him, you know, his death is on you. You know. You heard a rumour. Well, you know, in many ways, Dick Coughlan will never die, because what is Dick Coughlan? That's a stupid statement. It's me. I don't hate communities I'm in. It's just the fact that I just happen to be in them by happenstance. I didn't come here. Some people come on to websites like this and other places to find a community, and that's fine, right? You know, but as a man, you know, as the guy who, you know, many people will tell you, you know, many people who are, I'm sure, very, very, you know, well, you know, attached to reality, will tell you that the reason the atheist community, you know, crumbled and collapsed was solely because of me and my refusal to stop making videos disagreeing with Pat Condell and Thunderfoot and others. You know, that's literally what people believe. You know. Oh, Shoe Nice. Oh God, there's another guy who's just, you know, anybody who comes onto YouTube and is doing something, if you're doing something and you've got like a cause, or, you know, or there's something you are, you know, there's an agenda there, you know, and maybe it's an altruistic or a charitable one, fine. But don't come on here like Shoe Nice. If you come on here like Shoe Nice and you saying, you know, I'm here to solve world hunger. What, by eating fucking glue? What, that's it, is it? You're going to eat toilet paper and glue and fucking and drink yourself to fucking death? Is that what you get? That's going to solve? No, it's not, is it? That's just a way of like painting what you do as some kind of noble fucking thing, you know. Oh, you just watched it. Did it happen? Why did it happen? I don't know. Who won? How many rounds did it go to get the felt round? Yeah, Shoe Nice. He was fucking. He's dreadful. You know, he was a freak. You know. Well, I mean, you know. Well, I mean, obviously, I mean, it's like. I mean, that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was his drinking. The guy was clearly an alcoholic. He would like knock back whole bottles of vodka and shit like that in one go, and it was, you know. But yeah. I mean, most things these days are made to be like you can eat. You know, they're not edible. They're eatable. Do you want to know? Yeah, I do want to know. I mean, I didn't have a bet on it. You know, I thought this was going to go a full 472 rounds. You know, what I was hoping was going to happen is they would both trip over, sort of bounce into each other. I imagine Wings won two rounds. Bloody hell! Did they make it? You know, did they actually make it to the centre of the ring within arm's length by the end of the first round, or did they? You know, I can just imagine. You know, I could just see it. It just would have looked like one of those. You know, when you go to those sumo suits, people like, you know. Oh, come on. It's not that Wings wasn't too bad. He was up against Boogie. You know. let's. He ran 100 miles a day. Did he? Bollocks. When you say miles, is that like... Is that to scale? Is that like Lego miles? You know. Sport. No, this is not sport. This isn't a sport. This is more, you know, this is more a kind of spectacle. This is, you know, this is influencer boxing. And you know, I was watching a video last night. I was watching a video of a friend of mine, and what's interesting is, you know, there was a, you know, the guy who never gets mentioned about fucking, because he was well ahead of the curve, is Charlie Zelenoff, Charlie Z, you know. And I know he's bonkers mental. Like, the guy's severely mentally disturbed, right? And he should be in a fucking home, right? He needs looking after, right? But he was the original influencer boxer. He fought Floyd Mayweather Sr., you know, years before Logan Paul fought his son, you know. And granted, he lost in less than one round to a geezer who's 61, right? He managed to shit talk Deontay Wilder, you know, online so badly that Deontay Wilder got on a plane, flew to LA just to punch him in the face. Does Logan Paul? No, Logan Paul being good. It would be nice, you know. I you know, Logan Paul is like, see, Jake Paul I can deal with because I've always hated Jake Paul. He's always been a piece of shit. And Jake Paul helps you come to that conclusion right away by just looking the way he does. He looks like a geezer who's a cunt. He talks like a cunt. He, you know, whereas Logan, I always felt that, like, you know, there was a, you know, he was just a guy. He was, you know, he was an idiot who made stupid mistakes. But when he does things, you know, and I wanted to, like, always, like, believe that he was better than that, and so it'd be nice. I'm sure he's glad that he's great at wrestling, because it came along at the perfect time for him to, you know, after CoffeeZilla had just rinsed him out, you know. I just, you know, Jake Paul's, you know what Jake Paul, you know when you stand, like, you know when you've got a mirror and you stand hot with your face going, the mirror going that way, and you sort of move in, but you know that effect you get. Like, Jake Paul looks like that, right? It looks like someone's pinched just his face, like Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Right now, I don't want to see Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. One, because, you know, I couldn't live. I think Mike Tyson's great. I'm not a huge boxing fan, but Mike Tyson is the shit. Like, the first time I ever watched boxing, I was watching Mike Tyson, and I don't want to live in I don't want Mike Tyson to lose to Jake Paul. You know. Now, if you could get a time machine and send Jake Paul back to the 80s to face 1980s Mike Tyson, a guy who literally just had to, like, look in your general direction from 500 yards and your skeleton would fucking leap out of your body. Butterbean. I don't think Butterbean would now, you know. I mean, Butterbean was a bit of a, you know, a novelty thing. He had, like, you know, yeah. But, I mean, and say what you want about Logan as far as the boxing career goes. Logan has faced a boxer. He's actually fought boxers, right? The sport, you know, when the sports that Logan has done, he's actually gone up against people. Logan Paul, his boxing career had this trajectory: draw with KSI, lost to KSI, Floyd Mayweather. Right now, can anybody tell me any amateur pro boxer in history who has had no, you know, one draw, no wins? Floyd Mayweather. I mean, that's quite, you know, I mean, obviously I'm never going to be at that level to be able to get someone like Floyd Mayweather. I don't know, is Buster Douglas still alive? You know. See, I don't admire the hustle. I mean, I don't admire that. You know, Jake Paul doesn't hustle. Hustle means you work smart. Hustle means you're entrepreneur. You put yourself back. You know, but Jake Paul is a scammer. Jake Paul scams people. Logan has scammed people. You know, that's not hustle to me. You know, that's, and particularly when your audience is made up of primarily children, and you just do it over and over again. You know, Buster's still alive. Well, I think me and Buster, you know, scam shaming, are we? I'm afraid I am, mate. Actually, I'm shame scamming. I wouldn't say repulsive. I don't think, you know, they just look, you know, I don't know, you know. You believe everything is a scam nowadays. Okay, well, good for you. Must be a nightmare going shopping. Is anybody here, like, because I don't know if anybody else watches this user. Has anyone here been following the collapse of Illuminati, Blair? Because that came out of fucking nowhere for me. Because I've been watching her stuff for years, and I was like, wow, what a massive bitch, what a horrible human being she is. It's fucking I didn't mean to follow it because it's just that literally, just, you know, so many videos. I've never seen so many fucking videos made about people who just, you know, many of which aren't necessary. They're just people jumping on the what happened. Well, Illuminati, the channel Illuminati with two eyes at the end, Blair. It turns out she's a incredibly horrible human being. Yeah. Elizabeth Holmes. Yeah, but dude, Nabil, you're not going to get scammed by fucking Sam Bankman-Fried and Elizabeth Holmes. They're like, that's, you don't have to worry about them, right? You know. Yeah, I mean the channel. There are several things. It just turns out that she's just a very manipulative, abusive, vile, dishonest, disingenuous, nasty, you know, two-faced, lying fucking bitch. I mean, it's there's no. I mean, she is effectively, she's done the whole, you know, like the homophobic hate preacher who turns out to be gay. Well, she's the person who makes anti-cult leader, who turns out to be somebody who behaves exactly like. Nobody wants to. What do you mean? No one wants to be? So could you, Nabil? Could you just stop talking in complete absolutes like that? You know, yes, it's, yeah, but you notice these fuckers fail. Where's Sam Bankman-Fried? He's facing 100 billion years in jail. Where's Elizabeth Holmes? She's somewhere not blinking with that fucking maniacal look on her fucking face, right? But the good thing is, at least these days, it's, you know, what's up with your t-shirt? Nothing's up with my t-shirt at all. What happened was, this used to have two arms, and the other day this got caught on a little piece of it was like a nail or something that was hanging, and it just ripped, and it looked stupider just leaving the arm on. What do I think of Hakim? I don't know who they are. Oh no, everyone's fucking denounced Blair. But the funny thing is, Blair's sort of dealing with it has been kind of unusual, because what she did was she made one video about a week and a bit ago. Since then, things have got even worse, and her video was dreadful. And then she's just carried on upload. She's uploaded like 7 or 8 other videos since then. She's just trying to carry on as if. Look at Kanye West's fashion line. Oh yes, all the jodhpurs, and you know. Why can't I get a new shirt? Well, I could, but it's a shirt. You know, it's like there's only me here, mate. You know, I know that you're here, but does it bother you that much? Yeah. Well, I mean, eventually it will do. I mean, this is the fact of the matter is, like, at the time, whenever you're in deep shit, you know, it always feels like you're not going to be able to, you know, go. But, you know, look at the things people have been able to, you know, if you just carry on regardless, because eventually, you know, the internet will never forget, but people, you know, but there are billions of people on the internet, and you know, over time it will just be all she's got to do is keep her fucking, you know, keep her nose clean. Look how many people are allowed to come back here, and just, or people will just, you know, eventually just move on. You know, I mean, fucking Kira the Wolf is still on fucking you. Kira the Wolf, who a couple of months ago changed the name of his channel to something called Radiance. He's now talking about something else. I can't remember what it's called. I don't care, right? Because it's something I'm too old and too out of touch to fucking. And he's uploaded two, and he's using, like, he's not appearing in his videos, which is a blessing, to be perfectly frank. And he's using some audio program to slightly modulate his voice, so it sounds a bit like it. But if you just came across it, you wouldn't necessarily twig it, right? But I'm just like, how the fuck is this? How is this motherfucker, you know, allowed? You know, why is he still? I mean, in a way, I kind of admire the front of the bloke. Is that the dog fucker? Yes, the guy who raped his dog, you know, and the roadkill fucker. And he weren't even the worst of the fucking people who, you know, we've been over this, the whole zoo sadism thing, you know. It's one of those things, you know. It's one of those few things in my life where I was like, if I could have like a, you know, there ain't many things where I sit there and go, I wish I didn't know this. I wish I could unlearn this. You know, I mean, eventually I would get round to it again, you know, but this is something that just, you know, when something's so fucked up and it gets in your fucking, it's like a song that's really catchy. Like, that's what disturbing fucked up shit like that does. It burrows its way, you know. The Mr. Hands incident, well, you know, the incident, I wouldn't have wanted to, you know, what's it saying that I've, you know, there are you know, lots of videos I've, you know, I mean, I make it a sort of point of, you know, exposing myself to all that horrible shit, because I think that, you know, it's just that, you know, people went through this, people have suffered, these are human beings, and if I can't even just look at it, then how the fuck am I going to deal with it? You know, how is anybody going to deal with it? You know, one guy, one jar, three guys, one hammer. There was also oh yeah, there's people, you know, there are people who are going to be sat there, you know, who are going to stick by Kira. They won't ever, you know. And you see the fucking idiots who say things like, you know, I don't care what Kira's into. It's not. I'm like, no. I do. I care, you know. Even if the content's got no relevance to it, I give a shit whether a YouTuber whose content I enjoy fucking rapes dogs and hangs out with people who fucking mutilate fucking puppies and fuck them to death. I want to know that. You know, I think that's, you know, oh no, there were, Jimmy said, I found a blog that was just, there was so much that it's on Blogspot, and it's been, I don't know how long it's been going. I guarantee you the geezer who made this blog is at least, he's in his late 60s, but it's a Blogspot account called like Jimmy Savile is Innocent, or like, you know, whatever, and it's got like, it's been going for fucking years and years, and there's hundreds, maybe even thousands of posts. I don't know, because the guy has not compartmentalized any of the blogs. So the only way you can get to the beginning is to scroll down through everything, and it's just like, and I remember scrolling, I was scrolling for like 20 plus minutes, and I was like, I can't be fucking bothered with this. Like, I mean, this is the best he's got. And then I thought, well, what if Jimmy Savile didn't die? What if this is his blog? You know, there's one for you. If you haven't seen the Jimmy Savile documentary on Netflix, I highly recommend it. It's very, very good. You know. But the only bit about the documentary, the Netflix Jimmy Savile documentary, that I disagree with is they make it out that when the news broke in 2012, that, you know, when it was, like, you know, made official, they talked about how the nation was in shock and everybody couldn't believe it. And I was like, no. Most of the nation had the reaction I had, which is they picked up the paper that says Jimmy Savile sexually abused children, and they went, well, yeah, pretty much, yeah. That's cheers for you know, I mean, we already knew this, you know. I knew it in fucking. I knew about it in the early 90s when I was barely a teenager, you know. Yeah, but people who believe shit like that, an Uberu, are cunts. You know, I don't mind an individual artist for the purpose of their own art. That's fun if you want to do that, you know. And yes, people's suffering produces great art, but if their suffering hadn't happened and that art didn't exist, then guess what? We wouldn't know. There's loads of songs that were never written. There's more songs that were never written than have been. Do I live in Scotland? No, haven't lived in Scotland for fucking years, mate. Literally, haven't lived in Scotland for nearly 10 years. No, Jerry Sadowitz had a joke in his stand-up routine in 1987 about Jimmy Savile being, as he referred to him, a child bender. Oh yeah, the R Kelly thing is just, I mean that was a shock to me, that documentary, because I was like, you know, obviously I grew up in the, you know, I grew up in the 90s. You know, I was like, you know, I was born in 79, so like I remember, you know, the peak of R&B, and I remember R Kelly and all that, and I sort of vaguely knew about the piss tapes now, but it wasn't until I watched that documentary I had any idea how, you know, like just how bad it was. I was like legitimately, because I thought when I saw Survivor, this documentary, like I thought, oh, what's it, like an hour and a half? And it's like, no, it's 6 1-hour episodes. I'm like, there's no fucking way. They must have padded this out. Like, no. They could have fucking probably got another 4 episodes. Fuck it, they got another season out of it. They made a sequel. They made season 2. The following year, they made a 3-part fucking season 2. And I was sat there going, I want season 3 now. Yeah, it's an incredible documentary. You actually go through. I actually found myself going through what I call the 6 stages of R. Kelly grievance, which is, because by the middle of by like the 3rd episode onwards, you gradually stop. You know, you realise that the people you're more angry about is not just R. Kelly, as you know, R. Kelly is what he is. You've accepted it at this point, but you realise that it's everyone around him who knows he's doing this fucking shit, who's just letting him get the fuck away with it, and they're doing nothing. And it's like, those fuckers need to have their day. You know, need to be. There was one geezer. He's in the 1st episode talking about how he fucking got, you know, sitting there, you know, with his head hanging, talking all sad about Aaliyah after she got pregnant when she was fucking 14, and he went and got a fake birth certificate so she could get married. And he sat there going, I feel like I should have said something. Yeah, you fucking should, you absolute cretin. You fucking piece of shit. You should be pelted with wasp nests and fucking white dog shit for the rest of your pissing life. You wanker. And you sit there and have the gall to fucking, you know, And this was in 92, 93. You could have done something. You did nothing, you know. And that's to be honest, if you listen to enough of these fucking, like, you know, true crime podcasts or documentaries, you realise that ultimately there are at least half a dozen there's anywhere between 5 to 15 points before they get caught, where you sit there and go, why didn't they stop him there? Why didn't they do that? Why did nothing happen there? Why did no one do that there? You know, the Joseph, even people who aren't famous, the Joseph Fritzl fucking, you know, it's one of those other cases that I'm, you know, just obsessed with. I've listened to, I know as much as I can possibly think I could possibly know about it, and there's just so many moments where you're like, why did no one do anything there? Why wasn't that there? You know, what, you know. Or Ian Watkins, if you haven't seen, you know, there's no big documentary, there's no like docu-series on Ian Watkins, but there's a couple of videos on YouTube you can find that from Channel 4 and BBC, I think, and you just like, you know. And he got away like this. There was a woman there, literally going, "Look, I've got messages from Ian Watkins that contains images of child pornography. I've got him here. I've got him standing over a dead child with his penis out, holding a copy of today's newspaper." And they're like, "Nah, you're a nutter." What are you? It's insane, you know. You know. Oh yeah, it's not. Let's not forget. It's not just fucking. You know, it's not just rich people who get away with it. There's lots of people who, you know, Fred and Rose West did that shit for years. You know, fucking the Cray twins. I may be living in a caravan. What do you mean I may be living in a caravan? First of all, it's not a caravan. This has a name, right? And her name is Trailer Swift. Okay. Show some pissing respect. Now, well, I mean, I find the thing I find fascinating about the Ian Watkins case is the fact that, unlike most other sort of people who do what he did, there's normally you can trace it back. There's normally like stories and incidents that go way back into their youth. There's nothing with him. It's like everything was completely normal. Everything was completely ordinary and normal and uneventful. And then he just at some point, he just fucking, and it's, mate, I am trailer track. Dude, you don't get more trailer track. I've got a banjo, right? I've got a rocking chair. I sit there with an ear of corn. I've got 450 fucking dogs outside. You know. Listen, there are people who don't want to, you know, who don't want to, you know, acknowledge the awful things someone did because they wrote a fucking song that they like, you know, or because they told some jokes that made them laugh, or because they were, and it's just like, you know, it's like they still exist, you know. The person who made that, you know. When those books were written, when those songs were written and songs were sung, when those films were made, when those jokes were told, the person telling them was still the person who did those horrifying things. You just didn't know. And there's people whose work you listen to and appreciate and enjoy now, who you don't know, who have done horrifying things. You just don't know yet, you know. I do remember reading an interview not that long ago with Woody Allen, and he said that his biggest regret was one of it, and he named one of his more recent films. I'm like, really? Can you imagine being Woody Allen, and your biggest regret is that you made is one of the films you made? I'm like, that is. I wish I had that. Just lack of concern. Do you mean the ex-singer? Well, I mean, ex-singer. He probably is still a singer. He won't be again. I mean, and when I say Ian Watkins, I mean obviously the Lost Prophets Ian Watkins, not the other Ian Watkins, also known as H from Steps. And that motherfucker, you know, he was smart. He played the long game. He's like, oh, I'm not calling myself Ian Watkins. I've got a bad feeling about that name. I'm calling myself H. Why? You'll see. You'll find out later, Dad. You know. You know. And I have to admit that when the news broke about Ian Watkins, I didn't treat it with the level of shock and disgust that I should have done, because the first thing that came to mind was an hour looking him up on Facebook just so I could message him and wanker. Can I recommend the following things to go over it? What? Literally anything. I don't separate. This is this obsession with separating. I don't need to separate someone from, you know, I don't need to separate them. It's like they did it. You know, they are what they are. But what annoys me is the fact that people think you either have to, it's the people who think that you either have to only see, you can't see someone as both things they were. It's possible for incredibly talented and brilliant and, creative and inventive and artistic geniuses to also be disgusting, evil, psychopathic pieces of shit. That's what they were. Let's acknowledge both, and let's not define people one way or another. I know it's easier when we just treat people as good or evil, but that doesn't really help, does it? The reason people get away with shit like that, the reason Cosby got away, and Cosby was America's dad for all that time. There were the same time Bill Cosby is doing his routine to all these like middle class white families, there are people protesting outside Andrew Dice Clay concerts because of the stuff he's saying on stage. Andrew Dice Clay, not a single hint of an accusation, not a bad word said about the man. Married to the same woman, married twice to the same woman. They got divorced, they could get remarried again. Why? Because people couldn't see beyond. Don't get me wrong, I understand why people, I'm not. All I'll say is, how many rape jokes did Bill Cosby tell? Yeah, but Andrew Dice Clay, to my knowledge, didn't steal the vast majority of his material, whereas Robin Williams did, and yet somehow Robin Williams gets away with it. Nobody cares about that, When it's Carlos Mencia or Amy Schumer or literally anybody, it's they're the worst, they're the worst person on the planet, and I'm not defending either of them. Carlos Mencia is particularly, tragic, but well, the thing is, it depends. I suppose it depends how you view art. I mean, I don't view an art as the reason I like something is because it represents me. It's because I relate to that, now that belongs to me. I don't need the person whose voice is singing. And if it bothers you that much, here's a tip: just there's loads of cover versions of everything out there. Go find a cover version you like, and you'll It doesn't matter though. No, that's not true, Piro. Robin Williams was banned from LA comedy clubs in the 80s when he was doing Saturday Night Live, because he would go there. He was pinned up against a wall by multiple comedians for this. It got to a point where comedians go out and see Robin Williams in the audience and refused to go on stage because they did not want to go out there, do their fucking material, and have him fucking and see him doing it on Saturday Night Live, He should have done, and that's, you know, and the guy was clearly talented enough that he didn't, you know, he could have hired a joke writer. There's fucking, you know, but and what annoys me is he does this excuse, you know, which is where he says that, you know, he sometimes just remember, he doesn't realise he's stealing it. I'm like, dude, you're a professional. Don't give me that shit. You don't tell me you don't know whether or not you thought of something. You know, I've written I've written over 10 hours of stand-up material. I can tell you, like, every single joke where it came from. Yeah, I watch Father Ted. Yeah, I will still watch Father Ted, and I think, you know, Graham Linehan's Graham Linehan's just tragic, isn't it? You know. Do you know what the funny thing about Father Ted is? When Father Ted came out, like, it got a huge amount of complaints, and Channel 4 received a huge amount of complaints. Do you know who was complaining about Father Ted? It wasn't Catholics, right? It was Irish people, because they felt it played into the stereotype of Irish people being stupid. Even though all of the cast were Irish, it was written by an Irish guy, you know. Yeah, Graham Linehan's a bizarre fucking case. It's because it just got to come. It's I can't remember who said it, but there's this wonderful phrase, saying, or, you know, I don't know how you would phrase it, but a person's talent and skill is held hostage by their personality. And there's so many great examples of that. It's like, it doesn't matter how brilliant and you know, and creative and, you know, whatever, an artistic genius somebody is. At the end of the day, if they're a cunt, that will supersede. That will take precedent. That will be given the you know, primary focus. You know, you've seen it with you know, see it with J.K. Rowling. You see it with lots of people. It's just like, what was like, you know, you could have just, all you had to do was keep your trap shut, and you know, Graham Linehan especially, he's connected with so many, you know, great shows, and so many great comedy shows, and it's just like, all you have to do is shut the fuck up. The silly thing is the joke that got him in the joke that started it was this joke from the IT crowd, and I personally felt that he could have easily, you know, justified why he did the joke the way he did, but he didn't. He just got angry and pissed off about it, which he didn't need to do. I mean, to me, it's like, when I write a joke, I have like, can I justify this artistically, intellectually, and you know, can I justify that? You know, can I sit there and say and explain to someone who may object what this joke means, why I told it, and blah blah. And if I can't, then I probably won't tell it. And the funny thing is, even after he fucking just lashed out at all of the people, you know, being critical of him over this, he then, in an interview, like, I don't know if it was the following year, or you know whatever, he said that actually they were right, they had a point. So he basically admitted, but it just, and particularly when you're a comedian, it's like, dude, you're a comedian, right? Comedians, more than anyone, are constantly being told by people, you know, who don't know anything about what they do. You know, how you know, you're told by people who did enjoy you. You know, the amount of times you'll go off stage and someone will say, that was good, mate, you were really good. Here's one for you. You can have this one. You can tell this one next time. It's like, no, mate, I won't be telling this joke. Right? You're sat in the dark facing me. You had to pay 15 quid to get in there to watch me. Right? I'm getting paid 200 quid to stand there, and now I'm going home. Right? Yeah, so you bring up Count Dacula and his Mad Lad videos every time I do a live stream, lol. And I don't mind. You know, you can like what you like. You know, it's perfectly okay. I've got no issue with that. You know, I still listen to I still listen to fucking shit that, you know, is really difficult to. I still listen to Opie and Anthony, you know. And you want to talk about fucking, you want to talk about problematic fucking material? Jesus, you know. I can still listen to Roy Chubby Brown, and you know. Raid. Oh come on! You can't have a go. You can't. If you want to bust on Dankula, don't do it for Raid Shadow Legends. Fucking hell! Everybody's sponsored. Raid Shadow Legends must have a, like, their advertising budget. You know they're part of this sort of group of sponsors on YouTube whose adverts I see everywhere, and they sponsor. I've seen hundreds of videos sponsored by them, but I've never seen anyone actually using that product. Like Raycons, yes, lol, Raycons, exactly. Just to, you know, I've never seen anyone wearing Raycons. I've never seen anyone, you know, I've never seen anyone, you know, playing Raid Shadow Legends. But you'd think about it, you know, should be fucking pissing bastard everywhere, you know. Huge in China and Korea. Well, that's, you know. Well, I mean, you know, everything's a bit bigger in, you know, bigger in China because everybody there is a little bit smaller, aren't they? They're tiny little people, you know, who actually plays it. I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I mean, I imagine they don't need you to. They just need people to fucking. They just need people to sign up, make an account, and they probably make money just there, you know. NordVPN. I actually, you know, I did use a VPN last year for a bit, and I actually, you know, thought it was all right, but it's just, you know, I'm hesitant to use almost anything. Simon, do you know what pissed me off? Do you remember last year, towards the end of last year, there was that huge fucking, you know, everyone there was loads of videos being made, and there was a huge scandal over, you know, that company, what's it called? You know, the one that gives you, the one that claims to make you a lord, established titles. The ones that claim that they sell you a square foot of land in Scotland and now you're a lord and a lady, right? I wrote a Facebook page. Hey, Sirius. Buongiorno. You know, I wrote a fucking Facebook post, like, about established titles 2 fucking weeks before the bastard who made the video that fucking started it all off. Okay, you know, and I'm not saying he stole it from me, right? Because I have no, I'm pretty sure he probably didn't, right? Almost certain, right? But what I'm saying is, you know, I could have done, right? I could have done. This is just, I'm adding this to the list of missed opportunities, which is, you know, rather long, you know. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's so many of them. I mean, you just wonder, like, are there no, like, actual companies that want to advertise with on YouTube? It's kind of fucking funny. It's like, you know, even people. There's those fucking Japanese knives that ain't Japanese. They're made out of the girders that used to be part of the Twin Towers. They're covered in super thermite, you know, and like fucking fall. They snap in two on contact with fucking, you know, with air. I like Vile. Do you know what? Vile fucking is responsible indirectly for giving me one of the most fucked up night's sleep, because I always fall asleep with the, you know, with my computer on and with videos playing. I can't sit there. I can't lay in silence. Right, I have to have something playing. Right, it's a leftover effect from one of my ex-girlfriends. But I'd watched a Vile video and I fell asleep. And evidently, what happened was, one of the videos it played. One of the videos on the sort of auto playlist was his video analysing Am from the short story I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, which I'd heard of but I'd never listened to. And then after that, the next video was the 41-minute audiobook read by the author, the original audiobook of I Have No Mouth, and I was dripping in and out of sleep whilst that was playing. Right? I cannot, but I was woke, and the point where I sort of woke up, I was like, what's going on? Was the bit where Am is saying, I have 400 trillion microchips in my system, and if every molecule on them had the word hate emblazoned on it, you know, in obsidian and fucking, you know, God's semen, it would not equal 1/1000% of the hate I feel. And I'm like, can you imagine waking up hearing that? Well, it happens to me. I don't mind it. It's, you know, it's just, it happens all the time. But it's just, you don't want something. You don't want that, you know. And the trouble is, I watch so much fucking demented, weird shit anyway. That it's even if I fall asleep watching something, you know, the most wholesome content, it's not gonna be long. It's only gonna be half a dozen videos away before there's something about fucking some geezer fucking killing and eating his kids, or zoo sadism, or fucking, you know, or, you know, Christaberg or whatever. But which is nothing wrong with, you know, listening to Christaberg. Right? I'm not saying it's right either. I'm just saying, you know. I mean, outside of Lady in Red, I don't know what else he's done, right? For only wholesome things. No. Well, the thing is, that's all I watch. I either watch, you know, you know, everything. The thing is that the content I consume has, you know, is either the most sort of wholesome, you know, positive, you know, not, you know, happy stuff, which because it has to be, because the other stuff I watch is so fucking just bleak and dark and horrifying that I need the fucking wholesomeness. I need to watch the Try Guys, or Jolly, or Max Fosh, or, you know, or just literally just anything that's nice and happy. And because to counter the fucking tsunami of human misery that I've subjected myself to. Well, I mean, yeah, because serial killer documentaries tend to be quite sort of like, you know, hushed. They tend to have a sort of like, you know, there was one channel, I can't remember what it's called now, but it was a true crime video channel. Obviously, you know, you can narrow it down, which means it's one of several hundred million. But it was just quite funny because the guy had the voiceover guy fucking voice. The guy was like, on June 23rd in 2022, Dave Bogson was walking into, and I'm just sat there going, and I'm just sat there just laughing because it's not JCS. I know the guy. I know the guy who does the voiceover for JCS. The guy who does the voice, the guy who does the narration for the JCS videos is not the guy who writes the videos. Now, I actually know the guy who, you know, who does the voiceover for JCS. I actually messaged him a couple of weeks ago because I had this idea. After I did that James O'Brien video a couple of months ago, I thought, what if I did, like, wrote a JCS, like it would be an interrogation analysis, but using the language and that I would use, and then write it down, and then give the actual guy who does the actual voiceover for JCS those words, and say, can you just read that? And then just imagining him saying the sort of shit that I say. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you see that with a lot of serial killers. They, yeah. Oh, you could put JCS inspired. At one point I was considering putting JCS inspired at the end of my video titles, even though they had nothing to do with it, you know. You know, and it's got ridiculous to the point. There's literally a channel I found the other day called JCS Inspired. I'm like, really, motherfucker? Just you're not even. Can you not even be bothered to fucking think of a name? Tash. But yeah, this guy had this voiceover voice, and he was just like, I just imagined him. I was just thinking of this Monkey Dust, the sketch from Monkey Dust with the guy trying to do, like he's trying to do an audition, going, "Hello, I normally do voiceovers, but I am a classically trained actor. Okay, just read the lines, please. It was you, Charlie. It was you, Charlie. I could have been a contender instead of a bum, which is what I am. It was you, Charlie. Okay, that's fine, thank you. That's it. I assure you, this role is well within my capabilities. I normally do voiceovers, but I'm a classically trained actor." Edward Kemper. Oh yes, lovely bloke. You know. Nice bloke under certain circumstances. I wasn't chased bare arse naked down the street by him, but you know, sure that could cloud. I always miss it. You know, I always loved it. That's what I loved about the 80s and 90s, was every trailer started the same. It was like, in a world where blah 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 blah. Doesn't matter what it is, you know. In a world where elephants can't fly. You know. I just wanted, is that geezer's voice? Does he have to talk like that all the time? Does he walk into he goes shopping, he's like, "It's a time for a packet of Bensons. I'm a guy who needs a pound of carrots." Yeah, the only trailer they couldn't do that to was Star Wars, for obvious reasons, you know. Hmm. Yeah, that's all you need. See, see, that's what you really need most. If you have the right voice, you can fucking pump out. And there are certain channels. I'm not even 100. I've watched so many of their videos, and I'm not even 100% sure I've paid attention to most of them. Right? I'm not even sure what they're talking about, but they've just got that voice, you know. And I'm like, see, if I spoke like that, I'd fucking, you know, I'd have to invent a new fucking number after. I'd have fucking Kumite fucking numbers with that. But then there are some people who have horrifying voices, but enough personality to pull it off. There's a geezer in the bodybuilding community called Greg Doucette, and he's got, like, I mean, it's his voice is horrific on every. It's high pitched, it's croaky, and he speaks at a volume that literally makes the furniture in my room bleed. Right. But he's so over the top and animated that he manages to pull it off. But the only comment I remember, I got one of my earliest reviews that I got at one of my stand-up gigs was from a woman who referred to me, and this is a professional reviewer, right? And I'm not saying she's wrong. She's not, but she referred to me as a staccato-voiced git, right? And I'm like, you know, git, really? You know? Did you have to put that in there, you know? If you haven't liked the video already, then you should be, because I've literally had this little thumbs up here, you know, in your face. Jesse Ventura is not eloquent. In fact, just so you know, right, I've got I have been working on videos, and the one that is probably going to be the next sort of big video is I managed to find and download every episode of Jesse Ventura's Conspiracy Theory, and I'm going to try and do as many of them as I can, one at a time. And the one I've been working on is the 9/11 one, because it's the best place to start, you know. Let's get on this one, people. Come up here. This is what they don't want me to see. What's right there, behind this very, very open window. I haven't actually ever done a video on Jesse Ventura. I did a couple of live streams. You know, I did do a couple of live streams. The reason I stopped doing them is because I did a couple of live streams and they got content ID'd while I was doing the show. Now, to be fair, and which I thought initially was funny, that Jesse Ventura's conspiracy theory immediately does not want you, you know, uploading criticism of it. It's, you know, but to be fair, I appealed and sort of said that, you know, this is criticism, fair use, blah blah blah, and they put it back. It went back up immediately. So, like, yeah, I mean, it's the 9/11. The thing is that it's like, it's just, if Shane Dawson's conspiracy videos were a TV show, then that might be the only conspiracy videos I've seen that are worse. But there is just, it's impossible. As someone who's watched a lot of conspiracy films and documentaries and you know, YouTube channels and TV shows, I've just never seen. It's amazing how terrible. Like I could legitimately make a conspiracy documentary about any of the subjects he's talking about that would be 10 times better on my own. The other video you did, well, that was a live stream. The funny thing about Alex Jones's early documentaries, like before he was like from the 2000s, is that in his documentaries, Alex Jones used to talk at this volume and at this pace for the entire three. It's like you wouldn't recognise that, you know. I mean, you would recognise it. It's Alex Jones. He's got, you know, you can't. You could tell, but like this, but like it's like he's a million miles away from that. Ah! I will find you and I will kill you. We're coming. The Republic will rise again. I do miss that. I had like almost every other day in my Facebook memories. I had in my on this day Facebook memories. There are screenshots of like Alex Jones video thumbnails, and today there were two in today's one, and the first one was called "Study: Human beings now more brain dead than goldfish." Right? Study: and the other one said, you know, liberals: you know, put blankets on Muslim women and beat them with a stick or you're racist. And I have no idea what it means. Kanye West didn't castrate him. If anything, Kanye West did everybody a favour by exposing how fucking immensely full of shit. He sat there going, "I love Hitler." Kanye West sat there, a black man with a balaclava on, so double blackface, you know, and saying I love Hitler, and I'm like, cool. Thanks, Kanye. And Alex Jones going, well. Oh, Kanye, you're so funny. I'm not doing first of all, there's no point in. No, I'm not doing Jonestown 2. There's no point because A, I don't want to. B, like his channel doesn't exist, and I just think, you know, it was perfect as it was. It was you know, as far as a series goes, I think there's some of my best videos there, and I just think, you know, and you know, the old adage in show business, which is, you know, if you know, leave on a high, leave everybody, you know, whenever you stop doing, you don't want to get to the point where people are like, this isn't as good as the last one, or you know, it used to be better, and they're just watching out of sheer habit. You know, it's like you want them to sit there going, "Oh God, demanding you bring something back or do it again. You know, I never sucked any ding dongs, but if I did, if I was gay, man, I would have dudes lined up. I would have dick coming out my ass. I'd have so many. I'd be able to suck dick so good if I was gay, but I'm not gay. I don't agree with homosexuals, but you know, I don't think they should be set on fire and shot into space. You know. Oh, Nick Fuentes is fucking. You know, I've had to learn a bit about Nick Fuentes. You know, Nick Fuentes is tangentially connected to the fucking the just ridiculously long rabbit hole massive rabbit hole I fell down when after watching and delving into that fucking. You know, you remember the Jesse Lee Peterson documentary called Amazing Disgrace that exposed him as a homosexual predator. Oh my god, that is a fucking, you know, that it's just everywhere. You end up, by the end, there's like 6 or 7 people, including Jesse Lee Peterson, involved in the whole thing, and all but one are gay, right? And I don't say that as a fucking, you know, as a joke or as a hyperbole. I mean literally, quite, you know, indisputably gay. It's just 7 or 8 gay dudes all pretending they're not gay, accusing each other of being gay. Yes, he is. Well, there was a video release called Amazing Disgrace. It's a 25-minute documentary, you know, which I watched, and then and like, you know, and the documentary itself is quite amusing, and I don't doubt that, you know, the most of the people in there are pretty much telling the truth, and what they're saying, you know, because Jesse Lee Peterson was strangely quiet for the entire thing. You know, would I fight God in the afterlife? No. I think if God exists, I'm going to be sitting there going, "Hi, my bad." Shouldn't have invented all those drugs. Yeah. But anyway, I'm sorry. You know, can we? But yes. So, but the documentary I then found out was made by a company called Church Militant. Church Militant used to be known as Real Catholic TV, which you may be familiar with if you were watching my videos around the early 2010s, as being those videos with a show called The Vortex, hosted by a geezer called Mike Voritz, the guy whose hair is real but is the most toupee looking fucking hair you've ever seen in your life, right? A guy who admitted during his 20s he lived as a homosexual. Well, I then find out that for the previous 3 years, and ever since he was cancelled, Mike Voritz, one of Mike Voritz's second in command at Church Militant, is Milo Yiannopoulos, who could only join Church Militant on the condition that he denounced homosexuality and stopped being gay, which obviously Milo clearly did. So he's not gay anymore, you know. So you've got Mike Voritz, so you've got Jesse Lee Peterson, gay, right? Mike Voritz, gay. Milo, really fucking gay. And what's interesting is then they, at the time, had been working or had been partnering their organisation, twinning their organisation, with Nick Fuentes and the Groypers, which is interesting because up until that point, Jesse Lee Peterson had been associated with them, but no more. Nick Fuentes, the guy who's so gay, he once openly stated that not having sex makes you more heterosexual than a guy who has sex with women. And do you know who says things like that? Gay people. Gay virgins say shit like that. You know, he hangs around with geezers who wear kitten ears. You know, right? And then there's another geezer whose name I can't remember. And then you end up And then the next step along from that is fucking Baked Alaska, who is the only geezer I can fucking, whose sexuality I can't find any evidence of it, reason to call it into any doubt or question. But it's Baked Alaska. The man has a charisma of -2. You know, he's I don't think he's any sexuality. I mean, he probably is. He probably has urges, but you know, nobody wants to fucking let him do it on them. So it's all theoretical. You know. So yeah, so what you end up with is about like literally 5 or 6, and you know how it all started. And here's the funny part: what I couldn't work out is why did these geezers all decide to just fuck over Jesse Lee Peterson for what appears to be no reason? And the only thing that happened, because in the months, a couple of months before that documentary, Jesse Lee Peterson had been a guest on Mike Voritz's internet show and his video podcast. He'd been interviewed like 3 or 4 times, and there was, and his last interview was 3 months prior to this documentary coming out. And in that interview, there is one big dispute or disagreement. Jesse Lee Peterson denies the divinity of God or Jesus and denies the resurrection happened. And in my personal opinion, that is the point where Mike Voritz decided, fuck this guy, right? He just sat on my show and denied, questioned or and denied the divinity and the of Jesus, denied the resurrection. So let's tell everyone what a massive arse bandit he is, because there's no other reason. That's the only thing I can find, And yeah. But there's but also that was around this point that you might have seen it because it was in the news recently. But I didn't even know that Milo. I knew that because I remember seeing Milo on Mike Voritz's video podcast. He was the first guest on a first episode of his new podcast back in 2019, and it was an hour long, and I couldn't watch more than 10 minutes before I nearly put my fist through the fucking screen, and I believe I screamed the words "Shut up, you gay cunts" at them, so pretty much since then he's working. I didn't realise, I didn't realise that until I sort of was looking into this, that Milo had been working as an unpaid intern for Marjorie Taylor Greene. Unpaid intern. I mean, talk about getting cucked, Yes, you can come back into mainstream politics, Milo, but as an unpaid intern. Do you know, actually it stings for someone like Milo to do anything for fucking free, right? And then we just found out that he apparently stole $7,000 from Marjorie Taylor Greene because somehow he managed to get hired. He managed to get given the job of being in charge of running Kanye West's 2024 presidential campaign. There's a perfectly ordinary sentence. And he stole $7,000 from Marjorie Taylor Greene's, from Marjorie Taylor Greene and her campaign fund in order to pay for the Kanye 2024 fucking domain name. I'm like, $7,000 for Kanye West 2024. You couldn't find one cheaper. Couldn't you have got a .net.org one for like a couple of hundred, right? And then, of course, Kanye says he's not doing it anymore because Kanye West watched fucking 21 Jump Street starring Jonah Hill and then decided he didn't mind Jews anymore. Well, it's just interesting seeing Milo sort of pop back up again, especially when he popped up on Tim Pool's podcast about a month ago. And I'm like, and this is at the point where Tim Pool's Twitter activity at this point was literally accusing anyone and everyone on the left of being a groomer. I'm like, and you've got Milo Yiannopoulos sat right fucking there. Sat right fucking there. You're inviting him on and you're talking about fucking, you're talking about drag queens. and people being groomers. Yeah. Feeling sorry for Jonah Hill. What I will say about this, one thing that's quite impressive that Kanye did there, when he came out and said that he watched 21 Jump Street of Jonah Hill and now he doesn't hate Jews anymore. And I thought, there's no good reason for anyone to be a bigot. But up until that point, I didn't realise there could be a bad reason for not being one anymore. Yeah. I'm like, no, Kanye, go back to hating Jews, right? You're going to find I want you to find a fucking good excuse to recount your anti-Semitism, not that you watch 21 fucking Jump Street. I'm not having that. I haven't even watched 21 Jump Street. I think Jonah Hill's great. Jonah Hill's brilliant. Everyone loves Jonah Hill, but he's not fucking, Jonah Hill, I can't think of any actor really, or, entertainer who is good enough, who is talk you out of fucking Holocaust denial talented, You discovered she's a lesbian, right? How did you say you discovered? Did you mean you just learned? You say discovered like... Listen, mate, just because she thinks she's a lesbian, she's probably just not met the right bloke yet. You should view it as a challenge, right? That's what, Don't let a little thing like fucking an incompatible sexuality and total, unawareness of your existence get in the way of this. What are you? What are you, an incel? See, it's all about... See, this is the thing about life. It's all about perspective. I had a mate when I was at college, and he had 3 girlfriends in a row who went out with him, and after they left him, they came out as lesbians, and we used to sort of make fun of him. And his response was fantastic. He just said, "Well, look, once you've had the best, you have to move on, try something different, don't you? What's the point? There's nothing, there's nothing left for him to learn." And I'm like, he will go far in life, this guy. It is, but look, it's not advice. I'm not saying this is, not, hashtag not financial advice, hashtag not a pickup artist, hashtag, hashtag satire, in a pair of underpants he can't remember when he put on, in a shirt with one sleeve, smelling like sweat, Guinness and pickled onions, but no, it's not mild stalking, no, don't use words like mild stalking, mate. That's like saying romantic rape. That's like calling rape wrong love. You don't. The thing is, this is true. I used to say this to girls I knew who were getting if there was a guy they worked with or a guy in their class or whatever who kept sort of asking them out or trying to fucking get. And I said, look, the thing you're doing wrong is he's asking you out and you're saying no, and what he's doing is right. I shall up my game. Well, if you want this guy to leave you alone, go out, say yes. And then go out and deliberately have the worst date you possibly can, and then he'll give up. You don't have to do anything. You don't, but he will leave you alone. Right now, that's not right. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's the way it should be. That's not correct or reasonable or fair behaviour. It's just the way it fucking is. Right? You won't bring up my name in court. No. Okay. It wouldn't matter, because if you bring up the name Dick Coughlan, it won't matter because that's not my real name. If you want, okay, if you want the name, you can bring up. My name is Phil Mason. No. My name is Daniel Keem. My name, J.R. Hartley. Nick Ocado Von Avocado. Oh, Pat Condell, still, I was, you know what? Up until the time, I haven't thought about him in fucking months. It was so lovely. And you brought him up now. Fucking god damn it! God, please tell me he's got to be dead now. He's got to be dead. I mean, like, properly dead, not just like spiritually, intellectually, emotionally, just a husk. Pat O'Cake, yeah. I didn't realise until the other day, that Carl was back. Sargon was back on Twitter, and of course he is, because Daddy Elon put him back on there. And the first tweet I saw of his was him calling the Tory party useless because of the election results. I'm like, oh my god, Carl, are you really having a go at another political party for running a substandard fucking election campaign? You, the guy who, at this moment and so far, and I honestly can't see anybody topping him, ran what is without question, pound for pound, the most disastrous election campaign I have ever fucking seen in my 43 fucking years on this planet, and I'm including ones that I read about that happened, up to 150 years ago. The guy who joined UKIP in fucking 2019 because it was the future, and then proceeded to lose. The guy who on Sky fucking News, the guy who was interviewed on Sky News, and when he was asked to name 5 policies, he couldn't do it. He couldn't even think of on the top of his feet. And when they asked him, so, how do you intend to implement any political change? You just shook your head and went, well, how would you go about doing that anyway? You said that on Sky News, being interviewed on Sky News, and he didn't even put a fucking shirt on. He sat there looking like me on a day off, right? I think I managed. I think in the 3 weeks that election campaign of his ran, I think it was literally every day. I got at least one new screenshot from a news website or a newspaper, or an article about Sargon in the mainstream press, just for something else. It was a different thing every day. It was him saying, I like racist jokes, and I think saying the N-word is hilarious. Then the next day it was well, having sex with kids is bad, but it depends on the child, which is an opinion that was shared, FYI, by Nathan Larson, the libertarian pedophile who is dead now, thank God. Then it would be something like, something like, I might, I might rape this Labour MP. And then the following day it would be, Jews need to stop whining about the Holocaust. Then it was like every single hot take you could possibly imagine. But no, actually, no. Actually, more. It's hebephile. Do you know how you can tell if someone's a paedophile? If they've ever said the phrase hebephile, right? Because they had to look that up because they think that is somehow better. Yeah, I mean, he just literally, I've just never seen, and Cole did have the only thing Cole won is he had the most items of food and drink. Like everyone else just got milkshaked, right? Cole got milkshaked, I think 3 times and got a tin of sardines thrown at him. So he, but it was one of the few times in my life where literally every paper, every mainstream news outlet in the UK, from the Express, the Mail, the Times, the Telegraph, the Sun, the Daily Star, the Mirror, the Independent, the Guardian, the Observer, right? Fucking, Angling Weekly, Jugs, right? The fucking Beano, every one of them rinsed him. Like not one person, not one newspaper, even the fucking Daily Express made no attempt to try and make what he said or who he was or what he did look in any way favourable or good. There was no positive spin. They all agreed. And when you can do that, when you can bring the whole of the British mainstream media across the entire spectrum, together to say this guy is the non-thinking man's lump of shit. Yeah, but let's be clear here. Nigel Farage said that because Nigel Farage knew that UKIP was toast and he wanted to move on, right? And he wanted to start a new cult of personality, because what he was actually, like I said, you're right, but like he's only right, for his own fucking self-interest. It's not like, it's that, the things he said when he says UKIP has been overtaken by extremists and racists. It's like, no, mate, no. They've always been there. It's just they're just only the real nutters are left now, right? But it's always been like that. I know because I've been telling you. You fucking one testicle prick. Yeah. He didn't bring the country together. He just, the media was there. But I mean, it was nothing. Yes, and then he lost. That was the one interesting thing about the recent election in the UK is that UKIP had 6 council seats left in the country, and they lost them. So as of the last, local election, as of this year, we now, for the first time since whenever, like for the first time in like the last 6-7 years, UKIP have no presence anywhere in the UK. Not that it matters. It's not really much of a consolation because they won in the end. No, I don't think necessarily. No, you got to understand. UKIP when it started out, in the early 90s, it was originally it was nothing like what Farage turned it in. Farage took over from a guy who was an actual proper like doctor of economics. I think he was, and it was meant to be a much more, it wasn't basically the the BNP but with a different acronym. It was completely and utterly different. But then Farage took it over and decided to rebrand, like New Coke. No, Cole did not single-handedly destroy UKIP. That's giving him too much credit. UKIP didn't need to exist anymore. You got to understand, mate. UKIP won. UKIP was a single-issue party with one fucking goal: leave the EU. We left. They didn't need to fucking. The fact they were still around. The fact that they're still around now, 7 years later. Is. They didn't need to be. They could have disbanded immediately because they had one single They had one single goal, and they got it. You know, and they won, and they didn't have to fucking win an election. You know, that's the lesson. That is, you know, you want to take some positive lessons that you can learn from about politics. Is UKIP showed that you don't need to fucking break through the fucking glass ceiling of the two-party system. You don't need to do that. You just have to make the issues that you care about, you know, get enough support that the other two parties look at you and go, oh, they've got a few million people backing them. That's enough to fucking win us. You know, why is that? Let's fucking have some of that, which is what happened. You forgot the BNP. Well, I mean, they're different things. I mean, in the same way that Millie was different from Vanilli, you know. Oh no, they fired bullets. Oh no, you're quoting Farage. Good, you know, not a single bullet was fired. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, and I could have stopped I could have stopped Brexit from happening back in 2013, because I was still in Scotland, and I came within inches of potentially fucking murdering Nigel Farage. He was in Scotland. Now, UKIP, not very popular in Scotland, right? Nigel Farage, less so. And when Nigel Farage was walking down, you know, what's referred to in Edinburgh as the Golden Mile, police had to literally form a fucking wall around all of the pubs, because as soon as he started walking down the street, all the fucking Scottish people coming out. And I was in the pub because I was there wanting to see Farage go by, and there was just this wall of fucking people. There was like 3-4 people deep, and then these coppers as Farage is going by, and I'm right in the back, and we're in this pub, and I saw, because we were out, because there was outside tables, one of those like glass ashtrays that you get in pubs, you know, the ones that are really spiky, and because there were so many people and there was so much going on, I just thought fuck it, and I launched this ashtray in the fucking air. Like, and I'm not a good shot. I'm fucking, you know, I have no fucking skill or talent when it comes to this shit. But literally skimmed past his head by about 6-7 inches, right? If that had hit him, if I had been a bit more that way, if he'd walked a little bit slower, done. None of this would have happened, right? And I've told Nigel Farage this multiple times. In fact, it got me blocked by him on 2 of my old Twitter accounts. But the thing is, you know, you say get arrested, but they had no idea who fucking they would have had no way of knowing who fucking thrown it. Because I'm telling you now, the fucking, you know, no one was grassing me up. When you've got 150 angry fucking Scotsmen who have to be held back from leaving the pub, they're leaving the pub, right, to go and fucking string this geezer up by his single remaining testicle, right? I'm sure any security cameras that were present could have fucking vanished, you know. But yeah. But yeah, so that's my biggest regret in life, you know, is that you know, I listen. It's a sacrifice I would have been willing and happy to make for the benefit of, you know. I've said this before. Why do Scots not like Nigel Farage? Well, because why would they? You know, most people in the UK don't like Nigel. I mean, Nigel Farage's family don't like Nigel Farage. You know? Even people who like Nigel Farage don't like Nigel Farage. But you know, they're not gonna. Scottish people are not gonna like. You know, because Scots by the majority didn't want to leave the EU. You know, they wanted independence, but not with that image charge. And he's a fucking he's an old school Tory, and fucking, you know, they knew they knew, as you know, many other people did, what was going to happen. And why would you not? I mean, that's what they used to do. Whenever one of their more prominent members got in trouble, there was a scandal, they were in the paper, UKIP would fire them, and then 2 weeks later would quietly give them a job in UKIP Scotland, you know, which is kind of like, you know, which is, you know, in terms of being rushed off your feet, it's like being a hot dog salesman outside a fucking synagogue in Tel Aviv. Oh, forget his, you know, well, first of all, his kids aren't half German. His kids are, but like, half nationalities don't fucking exist, right? But I've read it once. I've actually read this article before. One of the most horrifying news stories I've ever read was the Nigel Farage's 25-year-old, young mistress who he had an affair with for several years. Basically coming out and telling the story of her affair, and it is fucking hot. You know, people who think 50 Shades of Grey is disgusting and, you know, demented and no. Yeah, Farage. Yeah, well, you can. Well, I mean, you say garage, don't you? You say. You know, I've got an uncle called Nigel, and when I was a kid, I used to call him Niggle because I thought that was his name, you know, which is not, yeah. And you know, until they told me, and for reasons that I now understand, right, in, you know, many areas of South London, don't go around using that word because it could be easily misheard, you know. Let me see if I can find the. Let me see if I can find the Daily Mail article about Farage. I'll read it to you. Right, if you're eating your dinner, don't bother. Just, you go and be sick now. It's here we are. Yeah. And she threw him out. No, mate. I mean, yeah, sort of. You got half right. It wasn't so much I got thrown out. It was like my holiday was over. You know. If you want some more recent stuff that's happened, you know, that hasn't happened like 14 years ago, then I could give you loads of stuff that's much more embarrassing than that. You know. Strap yourself in. No, don't strap anything. It's going to be a horrifying. Here we go. Just loading it up. He commented on her bottom. Dude, that is not even the fucking whore's duvet of the hideousness. Okay, political aid to Nigel Farage comes clean about affair, and this was in the Daily Mail, and it's one of the few occasions when there's a, you know, because it's just a straightforward interview, and so it's not really the Daily Mail that are commenting on it. Why she went to the Daily Mail, I don't know. Hold on, let me Right. Here we go. So, I can't get the chat up for some reason. Oh, here we are. So, I used to watch me and Venom Fang X constantly. Good for you, mate. Don't blame you. You know. Nigel Farage has systematically lied about an affair with a vulnerable former aide spanning more than a decade. The Mail on Sunday can reveal. Brilliant. The former UKIP leader is accused of breathtaking hypocrisy by his former lover. I love the way people, like, you get these situations where, you know, people always like seem to act as if hypocrisy is one of the worst things ever. Like, when they're also being accused of like 10 dozen, you know, sexual offences. You know, the former UK, in an explosive interview, Annabelle Fuller, once a speechwriter and trusted advisor to the UKIP party and its leader, says she and Farage, a married man more than 17 years her senior, what a bloke, had a sexual relationship dating from 2004 until October last year. And so obviously this would have been 2021. Farage, a member of the European Parliament, has himself spoken of the betrayal of family values in British society. In a series of devastating admissions about their time together, Miss Fuller discloses... Annabelle Fuller helps Nigel Farage as he speaks... it's a photo, sorry. Sexual encounters in MEP offices in the European Parliament as recently as last year. A secret love letter in which Farage declares devotion to her with heart and body. With my spleen I give to thee. That the affair helped propel her into depression, self-harm and suicide attempts. Do you know who else that used to happen to, the girlfriends and partners of? Hitler. Not even joking. Every single woman Hitler was ever married to, dated or romantically linked to either committed suicide or attempted it on multiple occasions. He didn't need to fucking commit genocide. He just should have gone around having affairs with all the Jews. Okay, Amy, I haven't got anywhere near the rest of the story yet. So, this is not a sex crime. I'm not saying it's a sex crime. Nigel Farage having sex should be a crime. Because it's Nigel Farage, a man who I guarantee you tucks his shirt into his wife fronts. And this is a woman who is 17 years younger than him, dating her. So I guarantee you, I don't know Annabelle Fuller, I'm sure she's a lovely woman, I'm just saying, I guarantee you, without question, she takes it up the arse almost on the first date, right? I'm not saying it's a bad thing, just saying it's the vibe I'm getting, right? She revealed that helped propel her into... She also reveals that Farage's wife, Kirsten, now estranged, was behind Ms. Fuller's dramatic ejection from the UKIP celebration party in 2014. In her defence, yeah, of course she was. Ms. Fuller's decision to speak out is all the more remarkable because why would anyone admit to this? But as both she and Farage have repeatedly dismissed rumours of a liaison. Wait, they dismissed, and now you're saying they're lying? Well, fuck my pubic hair. Farage has described the claims as malicious and cowardly. apart from the bit about his girth. Within the party, however, knowledge of their relationship appears to have been widespread. Like his mum. One MEP, speaking on condition of anonymity, who just goes by the name Mr. C. Benjamin, no, Mr. Carl B., said it wasn't just a fling or a one-night stand. He was thinking about leaving his wife for her. I have spoken to Nigel about the relationship in the past and know Annabelle and Nigel were still involved sexually until late last year and possibly even early this morning. He didn't say that last bit. Everyone in the party knew they were having an affair. Quote, Winston Churchill. It is also a relationship starkly at odds with UKIP's consistent promotion of family values. Can you believe this? A political party who promote family values are apparently full of shit. Taking that which means that now takes the tally of up to 100% of that happening. Yeah. Well, has there ever been anyone who talks about family values as an organisation who don't all end up being a bunch of philandering coke addicts? Today, in a perceptive and at times troubling account of their deception, vomit-inducing fucking account, arse-opening fucking account, Ms. Fuller describes how the affair helped drive her into mental illness and life-threatening self-harm. I think, suicide is not self-harm. I mean, it is, but you're kind of downplaying it a bit. That's like saying Stephen Hawking's had a limp, right? Life-threatening self-harm before a successful course of therapy. She was lobotomized 74 times. She believes that only by telling the truth will she be able to put her life back on track. I wouldn't go near this woman's fucking clunge with yours, mate. Right from the beginning, lying about the affair was a strategy we decided on. Right? Did you need to decide on the strategy? Did you honestly... You thought, yeah, shall we keep this on the DL? Nigel, just so we know. I was thinking of changing my status on Facebook and, maybe making an Instagram post. Should I keep that? Yeah. Okay. Will not tell a soul. Just a Tumblr page then, right? We had many conversations about it, even in the past couple of years. He told me I had to keep quiet. I said to him, do you have any idea how painful it is for me? And he would say, yes! And I can believe that's how he said it. Nigel and I both knew we had to keep quiet to save Brexit. Not his marriage, not his fucking marriage with his children to his wife, who bared his children. Right? No, not that. Brexit. Nigel Farage convinced this woman that this affair could destroy Brexit. If I'd have known, I'd have fucking paid for a Daily Mail journalist and 17 hookers to turn up at Farage's front door. We are both liars and hypocrites, but the reason I had to lie throughout the years was that I didn't want UKIP or the cause we were fighting for to be damaged. Bless. He said, they will use anything they can to stop this. They will use anything they can to stop me. We are going up against the establishment here. Nigel Farage, the original anarchist. They will come after you. Although the relationship was consensual, and that is the one thing that the people in the comments loved focusing on. Like, it was consensual, she agreed to everything. It's like, that's not really the fucking point, mate. No one said that, she's not accusing him of, slinging one up her while she was sleeping. Although the relationship was consensual, Ms. Fuller believes Farage should have taken more responsibility for his actions. Welcome to the rest of the fucking human race, darling. She describes the relationship as grossly inappropriate. particularly in recent years when, she says, she was in a state of deepening mental illness, later diagnosed with post-traumatic stress. That's what having sex with... You won't catch a disease, you know, but you will get post-traumatic stress disorder if you let Nigel Farage sling one up you. Speaking on condition of anonymity, a close member of her family expressed anger at the way events played out, saying Nigel has acted appallingly with regard to Annabelle. In 2005 he seemed to care for her, but by last year he was treating her as an afterthought. Well, what the fucking hell did you expect, mate? So you knew he was having an affair with your daughter, who's 17 years younger than him, behind his wife's back, and you were shocked to discover that he didn't have her best interests in heart. It's why fucking abortion should be mandatory. Right? Despite her nearly committing suicide, right, he still wanted her to be his sexual partner as late as last year, to see if he could finish her off. Right? He is a complete narcissist, and I'm pleased Annabelle can finally leave him in the past. Yeah, we fucking can't, can we? Annabelle Fuller began working for Farage after completing a master's degree in international relations. What a waste of a fucking education. International relations. What's your first job? Fucking UKIP. Your job is gaffer taping Sargon of Akkad's mouth shut for the next fucking 3 weeks. There was a time when Annabelle Fuller was a highly regarded member of the UKIP team, which is kind of like being the best-looking paedophile, really, isn't it? Right? Someone who, at the height of her career, would advise Farage, brief the media, and write articles for national newspapers under her boss's name. Brilliant. What a great job. You know, today, she works behind the bar of a country pub near Bath. It has taken a year of therapy to reach the point where she can speak openly. Get to the frigging point! It began in 2004 in Brussels. Of course it did. Everything bad happens there. Where an up-and-coming Nigel Farage, yeah, fucking literally in a minute, was a member of the European Parliament. Annabelle, then 23, who had just completed a master's degree, had started working as UKIP's parliamentary researcher. I was introduced to Nigel in the second week of the job, and he was polite but cool. Now, what kind of 23-year-old meets Nigel Farage and think, hey, that is a badass brother, man. That geezer's cool. He is bussing. Right. Looking back, I don't recall any immediate spark of attraction on either side. Yes, of course you don't, because you're a human being with eyes that function. To me, he was just another middle-aged man in a suit. After work, like hundreds of others, she would end up in one of the bars around the Parliament building. Nigel Farage didn't have... There's not a photo of him, at UKIP's peak where he didn't have a fucking pint in his hand. He was shit-faced for the entire fucking year 2015 and 16. The kind where Farage held court. And she found herself drawn to the older, charismatic politician. Soon the two were spending a lot of time together. He was fun, with a wicked sense of humour. Yes, one of his best jokes, he told, was these two Jews walk into a bar. I'll never forget the one he said, which was started, there's a black fella. Right, no, just move on. Right. He had the best jokes. I've never known a man who knew so many jokes that start with the phrase, what do you call a Pakistani who? But Farage knew them. I loved listening to him. I was captivated by his worldliness. For several months, the friendship remained platonic. With Farage, something of a father figure. The vulnerable young woman with a teenage history of bulimia, she'll be throwing up for a good reason eventually, concerns about body image and self-esteem came increasingly to rely upon him. He took me into his confidence about work and party matters and would often ask for my advice. I was young, but I was bright and I was eager to get stuck in. Yeah, these these double entendres write themselves, I did research for him, advising him and briefing him and other MEPs on how they were voting. I also helped with his speeches and parliamentary amendments. Our first kiss took place in Brussels in 2005. It was on my forehead. Oh, how Clark Gable has got nothing on this motherfucker. Jesus Christ, smoother than silk sheets at zero gravity, bitch. He was just saying goodnight, but it felt very comforting. It didn't feel improper. Our relationship grew very slowly over several months. After a while, he took me into his confidence, personally and politically. Farage had been with his wife, German-born Kirsten, since 1999. But he told Ms. Fuller that it was a marriage in name only. His marriage to the marriage of Mr. and Mrs. Farage, despite having 3 babies in a carriage, he said that it was an unhappy relationship and had been for some time. He told me the marriage was not a real one. Yeah. I've got a funny feeling he is largely responsible for that. Right. Apparently his jokes weren't funny enough for her. Right. Then, in April 2005, Farage asked Ms. Fuller to work on his, as it would prove, unsuccessful general election campaign in Thanet, South Kent, as a volunteer. My fucking city, man. My home turf. As their relationship grew, Farage told her it had to remain secret, but they were a proper couple, and the UKIP leader moved into her flat in the Mailbeek area whenever he was in Brussels. I was flattered. Nigel visited every couple of days while we campaigned, and sometimes stayed overnight in a hotel in Broadstairs. Oh, fucking Broadstairs, mate. Fucking the city of love. A place so fucking diabolically awful. It's the only place. It's known as the place next to Margate. One evening, Farage invited a group to dinner at his hotel after a day of canvassing. As the evening went on, just 3 of them remained: Farage, Ms. Fuller, and one other person. The bottom. Yeah, the party bottom, the sloppy party bottom. Nigel offered us a sofa bed to sleep on because there were no taxis, but I was the only one to take up the offer. I knew what would happen if I stayed, and I wanted it to. Puts all those 25-year-olds Leonardo DiCaprio was dating. This really puts them in a much better perspective, doesn't it? At least they get to say they shagged Leonardo DiCaprio. What does this woman get? PTSD in a fucking Daily Mail article. Being read out by me. Fucking nearly 20 years after it started. In an unsympathetic tone. When we got upstairs, I took one look at the room and said, "But there's no sofa bed." And we both just laughed. The next thing I remember was waking up and it was pitch black. Yeah, they took their it was 2 a.m. and there was literally a gang of fucking, there's a group of gangsters outside with Glocks. It was not perhaps the most romantic encounter. I told him I needed something to change into, and he produced a white t-shirt from his suitcase. Well, that'll do. That's all you need, innit? Don't need anything else. A white t-shirt. Then I went to the bar. Yeah, oh, that's okay. I happen to have this PVC nurse's outfit here. Then I went to the bathroom, took off my makeup, and used his toothbrush. I would stick that so far down my dick hole and just leave it there. When I came back into the bedroom, he was in bed wearing a white t-shirt and white Y-fronts. He's got Richie from bottom fucking underpants on. Right. And you know they're not fucking like, they're not like briefs, you know, they're not like, you know, tight fucking, you know, these are fucking big back, these are fucking, you know, you could get a fucking 10 kilos of potatoes in these motherfuckers. You know, strangely fucking gets sort of slightly yellow as it gets down the bottom. Anyway, so he's got his Y-fronts and a t-shirt on. I got in and said, budge up, it was very English. There is nothing fucking English about this. This is not any, there's no nationality that should have to be burdened with this fucking image as part of its national identity. Not even the French. Right? It was gentle. Our clothes came off in the dark. Our clothes came off in the dark. Oh, look. Oh, look. My underpants just appear to have vanished. They're water soluble, you know. He said, "You're so beautiful in the dark." Right. We drifted off to sleep in each other's arms. The following morning, he was up early as ever. How much did she get paid for this story? Not enough. There's no amount of money. Right? He asked how I was. So this is the morning. Right? They're in each other's arms, romantic, naked as the day they were born. He asked, you know, I hope Farage kept his socks on. You know, because if he didn't, then he definitely, I have to question how English he really is. He asked how I was, and I said, "Do you regret it?" "Regret what? You hugged each other." I said no, and he said neither did I, and I'm not surprised he didn't regret it. And that my arse had looked amazing in the moonlight. I just want you to think about that for a second. If you know Farage, you know, imagine waking up, looking up, and you see Nigel Farage embracing you, stark bollock, literally one bollock naked, you know, and he, you know, and he sits there and thinks, you know, this will cheer her up, you know, this will make her feel better, you know, your arse glistens in the moonlight. It looked like a Right Said Fred concert. The relationship grew, but as it did so, the terms became clear. For he got his fucking. This is where he turns into fucking Julian Grey, right? Farage told her it had to remain a secret. Remain. So he's in favour of remaining when it's his bit of snatch on the side, right? He said he wanted me to go into a relationship with my eyes wide open. Did he really say eyes? Right, that he really liked me, but he warned me that if people found out, they would make my life hell. Imagine dating Nigel Farage and being told that, you know, there's a worse thing that could happen, that other people could do to you. I was already committed. I knew what we had was very special. That is true. I was in love. I was happy. She could have got a methamphetamine addiction. It would have been much fucking better off. From then on, she says that they were a proper couple, inverted commas. And Farage moved into her flat in the Male Beak area whenever she... Okay, it's in Brussels. He kept clothes and some shoes there. Well, obviously, he's not just going to... What do you expect him to do? Right? We still went out with others as a group, and I think everyone knew by then that we were an item. For a while, Ms. Fuller happily played the part of a surrogate wife. Oh, God. Organising his life, both domestic and professional. For fuck's sake, love, you're meant to be the fucking saucy bit on the side. Not his fucking PA. Right? He was rather messy and left wet towels on the floor for me to pick up every morning. He could also be very absent-minded at times. Yes. I don't even want to know what she means by that. Right? Much later in the relationship, because she doesn't give an example, which means whatever he forgot was bad. Right? Much later in the relationship, for example, he complained of earache while attending the 2014 UKIP party conference in Torquay. That is Torquay, madam. Well, it's not good enough. What did you expect to see out of a Torquay hotel room, madam? Sydney Opera House, the hanging gardens of Babylon, herds of wildebeest scampering majestically. He already sounds horrible. Well, you should know this already. He had an earache. I found out it was because he had left a broken Q-tip stuck in his ear for days. This man wanted to. People voted for this guy. They believed this guy is the best prime minister we never had, and he had an earache after leaving a fucking Q-tip in his ear for several days. I mean, really? Can you imagine the field day the right-wing media would have if fucking Jeremy Corbyn, right, left half a Q-tip sticking out of his ear for 20 seconds longer than it should have been? If he'd walked outside and he had a bit of tissue paper stuck to his nose, right? How did he get lodged deep in there? Because there's fuck all in there, that's why. In a letter to Ms. Fuller, Farage said, "I only wish that I had been free for you with all my heart and body." Oh, God, less of both of those. Yeah, you know, whatever. He says body, but I mean what there is left of it. He was religious about polishing his shoes, not God. Right? No. Not God, not morality, not philosophy, not ideology. No, he was religious about polishing his fucking shoes. Polishing it, but he polished more than that. Fucking pudding bending motherfucker. And he seems to have an awful. He was religious about polishing his shoes, and he seemed to have an awful lot. Women be shopping. He told me he usually did the job himself on a Sunday. What do you want, a fucking medal, mate? Well done for cleaning your shoes. For a while, she was happy to remain a mistress, but as time passed, her feelings changed. Here we go. Women changing their minds over the course of many years, as it dawns on them that the situation they're in is diabolically awful. Typical. In those early days, he was my reason for getting up in the morning. He's also one of the reasons I still get up in the morning, but not for anything romantic or exciting. It's because I am determined to outlive Nigel Farage, because when he dies, I'm going to go to the site where his gravestone is, and I'm going to live stream me pissing on his fucking headstone. And that's not a fucking joke. Right? That is fucking, I promised you that now. You can take, that's my word. I will piss on that man's fucking grave. Jim Cornette, exactly. Whenever Nigel left to go back to England, it was horrible and I was desolate. Ah, see? I'll bring a news crew. Please don't. You know, I'm sure I'll be able to get on the news without, just by filming it. You know, I'm sure there'll be plenty. You know, the Daily Mail will have a field day there. I'm sure there'll be a phone in on LBC. I want James O'Brien to sit there and sort of, you know, not completely condemn me, but also condemn, but, you know, mostly condemn me, but not completely. You know, and then I'll phone him up and say, "Listen, James, you know, I know, you love it, right?" He couldn't even call me on the phone because he said he was with his family. Oh, God. It was very hard for me to know that he had another life. Well, if you don't know by now, if you don't know Nige by now. Kirsten knew he was seeing me because someone in the party told her. What a bunch of fucking narcs these cunts are. Someone in Nigel Farage's own fucking party, Solidarity, fucking grassed him up to his German wife, probably because he was trying to get his fucking, like, you know, get three fingers up her, right? I used to ring the home in Kent, and she would hang up on me. Why are you calling her at home? Or I could, at this moment, Nigel Farage has got images of coming home and finding a rabbit boiling in the thing, which if that did happen, he wouldn't care, because he'd be like, oh, we'll be having rabbit for dinner, and he'll sing run rabbit run, because he's a fucking lunatic, right? She would hang up, or I could hear her hand the phone to Nigel with an acerbic, it's her, das ist her, das ist ein Frau. Ein Bitchfrau. What's German for slag? I can't think. Growing increasingly depressed by her position as the other woman, and whatever position Farage fucking did her in, Miss Fuller says she started to self-harm. Imagine, like, you're shagging Nigel Farage. There is no more destructive fucking activity I could think of. Right? As a guy who attempted suicide on 3 separate occasions, right? I would do all of them again at the same time at once. Like, rather than fucking be told I have to look at a fucking picture of him naked from a fucking mile away. Schlump is German. I forgot we got a German in here. Welcome. Guten Tag. Ich heiße Dick. Wie komme mich am besten zum Bahnhof, bitte? Right. That's all I remember. Right. I started to cut myself some months into the relationship because I couldn't articulate how I felt. I think you should have carved a poem into your arm and shown it to him. That would have won him over. She's literally Mark Corrigan from the Peep Show. When I told Nigel, he was devastated and blamed himself. Fucking hell, I'd love to have a recording of that. It's the first incident of Farage taking some level of responsibility for fucking something. He begged me to stop and said that he loved me. Don't tell her that. It's only going to make it worse, mate. In the summer of 2006, Ms. Fuller moved back to Britain to work in UKIP's London press office where, although she still struggled with the clandestine nature of the affair, the two continued as lovers. On November the 3rd, her 25th birthday, Farage gave her a diamond pendant as a token of their feelings for each other. Not his feelings for her. Right. I bought this for you to represent how we feel about each other. I'd have bought him. I would have given him a fucking Kindle. The pendant was stolen. When the pendant was stolen, he paid for a sapphire and diamond replacement. Love, this is your chance. Rinse this motherfucker. Oh, they've been stolen too, Nige. Oh, you're not going to believe it. I bumped into another. I got mugged again. What did the mugger look like? Oh, he was about my age, about my height, wearing these exact clothes. But by autumn, Ms. Fuller decided to end the relationship and told him as they went for a walk on Beachy Head, Britain's Beachy Head in East Sussex, Britain's #1 suicide fucking hotspot. You know, for literally fucking, they are the Harlem. Beachy Head is the Harlem Globetrotters of fucking offing yourself. No, no, she didn't. She clearly did not, because she could, you know. It clearly not enough. You know, I was quite standoffish with him and said that it wasn't working. I didn't want to be the other woman anymore. I loved him, but I wanted a proper relationship. He said he understood, but that his children were his priority. What, he's shagging them as well? A week later, she received a letter from Farage dated November 25th, 2006, a date that will live in infamy. Infamy. They've all got it infamy, which she still keeps. This is like if Taylor Swift had no ability to write a song, isn't it? This is what it would sound like. No one will ever love, understand, or care for you the way that I do. Okay, well that's going to cheer her up, innit? You've peaked, darling. It reads, I adore you and the bond of friendship that we have shared. What I dread is not being close to you. I fear that this may not go away for many years. Bloody hell, I'd call for a doctor, mate. Pleading with her to take care of herself, after telling her that, he was the best she was ever going to get. He's the best, better than all the rest, better than anyone she's ever known. He signed off the letter with, I only wish that I had been free for you, with all my heart and body. Love, Nigel X. Or kiss, just one kiss, lowercase. She says, I was angry. He was telling me he loved me, and I wanted it to be a clean break. I wanted a shot at a normal life. Bad start, darling. It was I would go if I were you, I'd go and have your memory wiped, right? It was the first time he had declared his feelings so openly. He's fucking with her, but it was too little, too late, which is ironic because normally when you're with Nigel, it's too little, too soon. I had to end it for me and for him, but I know it hurt him. I know it hurt him very bad. It definitely hurt him. Like, he couldn't give a shit, darling. He referred to you, behind your back as number 16, right? Right. We kept in touch because I could not imagine him not being in my life. See, you fucked up. There's the mistake. Yeah. She embarked on a new relationship, but this fat I think it's meant to say floundered. It says foundered, right? That Daily Mail fucking spell checker. And by December 2007, she was back in a sexual relationship with Farage. Once you go Farage, you never go Barrage. Once you go Nigel, you never. I can't think of it. Which continued even when she quit the party in the autumn of 2008 to work with military charities in the UK. I'd hoped to make a fresh start, but even then I found I couldn't cut the ties to him. He was the only person I could rely on. Kill yourself, darling. Right? I would have, if I'd have been there and I'd have been your friend, I'd have done it for you. I'd have offed you, I'd have dragged you out back, right? Battered you to death with the nearest thing shaped like a pipe. Right? Besides, she found that she missed the excitement of politics, and in 2010 she asked Farage if she could go back and work for him. Let's get the band back together, Elwood, helping his successful campaign to become leader of the party. I know, how did he pull it off again? Not since the fucking last million elections of Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin has there been a more shocking. Before working as his press aide. At Christmas, he bought her a striking blood-red Vivienne Westwood coat from Harrods. It's pricey. On her 25th birthday, right, Farage gave her a diamond... Oh, sorry. Sorry, here we go. Sorry. They just repeated that for some reason. By now, in 2005, after her 25th birthday, however, there was a complication. Farage had met a French woman called Laurie Ferrari. Really? He's just trying to pork his way through the. Was it his mission to bang up, have a mistress from every single EU country before he left? This one was 16 years his junior. For years, Nigel Farage denied they were together. Well, that's worth the... I would wipe my fucking arse with anything he fucking says. Although in recent weeks, his aides have confirmed the relationship. Of course they have. Right, as first reported in the Mail on Sunday. I just can't imagine Farage being able to keep quiet about the fact that he's got his wife at home and he's banging a fucking two mistresses, both in their early 20s. One's a French sort, which means she definitely takes it up the arse. And the other one, couldn't leave him if she had a gun put to her head. Right? There was that. I don't know if you remember that. There was a Fast show. There was a character in the Fast show. It was very sort of. It was just a guy who would come into a meeting late or show up for a function late, and his clothes would be messy and his shirt would be untucked, and he'd go, "Oh, sorry everybody, I was up late shagging all night." Right? That was it. That's Farage, right? Lorry Ferrari. Ferrari, like the car. Ms. Fuller says she and Farage kept their relationship strictly professional between 2010 and 2012. Yep. No tit wanks in the office. However, the sex resumed from 2013 onwards. Right. They know the world's definitely not going to end. Well, no, we don't know they were attractive. We just know they were much younger. I mean, they were more attractive than him. And they would no doubt, could have done much better, because I don't know how you could have done worse, in terms of physical attractiveness and personality. I mean, literally like a fucking, I don't know, a racist zoophile burn victim would probably have to, They're all right. Okay. Well, that's still just your opinion. Right? He used to ask for hand massages and say he had all the stress in his hands. Yes, all the stress in my hands. I used to give him them, the hand massages, and we would talk, and sometimes he would say, "How about here?" pointing down at his trousers. Fucking hell. Jay Cartwright from the fucking In-Betweeners had fucking more fucking patter than this. Oh, yes, rubbing my hand. Yes, good. Right. Hey, tell you what, how about this here? Did he stand up and do the DX crotch chop whilst he was doing it? Then, in March 2014, came a bombshell intervention on the floor of the European Parliament when then UKIP MEP Nikki Sinclair used parliamentary privilege to allege that Ms. Fuller was Farage's mistress, a claim he refused to answer immediately. That always looks good whenever you are publicly on the floor of European Parliament accused of shagging the much younger assistant behind your wife's back, and you go, yeah. He later branded her action cowardly and malicious, as opposed to what he's doing, which is a very brave and noble act. I have spoken to every national newspaper on this issue, and the answer remains the same as it was in 2006. When Farage says no, he means no. When he says yes, he probably hasn't understood the question. In May 2014, UKIP caused a minor earthquake by winning 24 seats in the European elections, beating both Labour and the Conservatives, a result which left Farage and his colleagues euphoric. Literally just came in his pants non-stop. You could hear his belt snapping as the fucking erection fucking took off. For Ms. Fuller, however, it would prove a turning point. Although she had worked on the election campaign, she was ordered to leave a celebration party near St James Park in central London. I was told by one of Nigel's security staff that I had to leave on the orders of Kirsten Farage, the R Kelly, Madame Fura, and that she would have me dragged out by my hair if I didn't go. It's like, bitch, I will throw down with you. Yeah, das ist good. Yeah. Du hast mich. It was the so I did, and if I didn't go, so I did, so I went. so as not to cause a scene. It was the culmination of how utterly cut off I was. I felt ashamed, useless, and alone. Yep. Ms. Fuller says the humiliation helped trigger a suicide attempt. The first of 4 dangerous episodes of self-harm. Dangerous episodes, like a fucking TV. Coming up this week on Ms. Fuller's dangerous self-harm. In the course of the next few years, I went home and slit my wrists and burnt myself with a cigarette. Repeated. What, you slit your wrists first, then burnt yourself? Well, kind of gilding the lily with the cigarettes. Plus, you're not going to burn yourself that much because your arms are going to be covered in blood. She has not thought this through. I shouldn't be surprised by that, but come on. Have a day off, Trigger. Right, I went to hospital after a friend called an ambulance. I bet she didn't even... I bet this was like your typical textbook, like, wrist slitting, Which you basically got like a fucking biro fucking refill tab and just sort of rubbed it sort of vigorously against her wrist or something, Long, yes, exactly, In there, twist it. Everyone knows, But, do so. I mean, she's a researcher. She couldn't have looked this up. Her job is researching shit, and she just went ahead and thought, stupid cow. Right. Even so, the sexual encounters with Farage would continue. I'm starting to lose sympathy. You're being mean. I am. Yeah. It's okay. She's not watching. Even so, the sexual encounters with Farage would continue. He once turned up at my house in Wiltshire in 2015, a baseball cap pulled down over his eyes. How... He would have to be... You'd have to be wearing a deep sea diver's fucking get up for me to not recognise him. Farage, I've just got that image of David Brent when he's got that baseball cap with "So Solid" written on it. Right? He wanted sex. I told him no, but as usual, Nigel was very insistent. You've got those bloodlines. Oh, I can just see him in his pants, dancing around the room going, I know you want it. I know. Yeah. We didn't end up having full sex. Okay. But I did end up feeling like a hooker after he left. I don't know whether that's good or bad. Maybe she means rugby hooker. And when he propositioned her in an MEP's office in Brussels in the spring of 2016, she once again accepted. He came in, bloody hell, then shut the door. I'm assuming these are literal, not euphemism. He was lying on the sofa. We were talking, and he said he was horny. Oh God, I'm horny, horny. And then he fucking stripped down to his wife fronts again and put "Pony" by Genuine on and started gyrating his fucking arse around. Yeah. Very explicitly, he said, I'm so stressed, and asked me to give him a hand massage, which was always followed by me performing a sex act on him. It was over and done with quickly. Well, at least that is a plus, darling. When you're shagging Nigel Farage, premature ejaculation is a fucking blessing. At that point, I was beyond caring. See? She's worked it out. The last encounter took place in Strasbourg on October 4th last year. Again, he entered the office and she was alone. He gave me a kiss. I wanted affection, and I did as he asked. But I felt disgusted with myself. The next day, I learnt the EU were investigating some expenses, and I flipped. That, combined with the Nigel situation, left me... Really? You expect me to believe the expenses is what pushed you over the edge? Not the fact this geezer's using you like a fucking human fleshlight. No, that is not... For several years, and clearly has ripped away at your self-esteem and sense of fucking, in anything really. He's destroyed you in every. He's broken you. No, it's the fucking. It's the. He didn't get his fucking expenses put together. Nigel, you fucking ignorant twat. I told you you cannot... You can't claim a Pornhub premium fucking membership on as a tax deductible fucking necessity. All of this left me feeling that life was pointless, so I cut my wrists in the ladies' toilet of the European Parliament and ended up in hospital in France. That is a fucking hell of a sentence, that, isn't it? Throughout this time, she says, the pressure to maintain the lie became unbearable. The more so since they had been outed on the floor of the European Parliament. Maybe you should stop shagging in everyone's office. Right? Nigel said we could keep it out of the media if both of us kept denying it, and warned that it would be much worse for me if it came out. Somewhere, I pray to God that there is not a sex tape. And if there is, I hope whoever discovers it fucking destroys it and tells no one before offing themselves. I know we had many conversations about it in 2015 and 16 when we were standing in my garden in the West Country. He told me we must keep out any controversy out of the headlines until after Brexit. Yes, then you can come clean about a lot of it, right? Then you can tell the truth. You know, where have you been? Oh, I've been shagging. I've got 16 fucking mistresses, all of who, you know, Dave D, Dozy, Beaky, Mick and Tit, Zippy, George, Bungle, Rod, Jane and Freddie. Don't know if they're their real names. That's just the only names I can remember. And for the last 10 years, up in the attic of the EU, me and Lord Monkton have been trying to fill up a bathtub with our own cum. Right? Oh, and by the way, Annabelle, you know, last night I was spit roasting a hooker with your dad. Right? The other month, someone called me damaged, and that's how I feel. A stupid girl. I feel used and discarded. Now I want to tell the truth so that I can claim my life back. I'm fed up with living in the shadow of my former self. I'm tired of being ashamed of who I am. I'm not vain enough to think he couldn't help himself. You're so vain. But I do think it was up to him to not get involved with me. A little bit, yeah. Last night, Mr. Farage declined to confirm or deny that he had had an affair with Ms. Fuller. I'll take that as a yes. In a statement, he said, at this time, Ms. Fuller's employment, the party did not know there was a history of mental illness. Oh, okay. Turns out she's mental. She's got mental illnesses and other serious personal issues, such as this weird condition called finding Nigel Farage sexually attractive syndrome. I always tried to help her, recognising that she had ability, and prevented her from being fired on several occasions. Yeah, by firing off something else. Blasting arcing jets of semen into her fucking face. In his book, The Purple Revolution, oh for fuck's sake, Farage credits a teacher, I bet that's what he called his dick. Farage credits a teacher at Dulwich College for instilling in him a rule for life. The 11th commandment, don't get caught. You know, you shouldn't need that commandment, because that commandment's existence kind of negates the other previous 10 from being necessary. Today, the commandment lies shattered, and yes, that's the commandment you should be pissed off about. Ms. Fuller says, and Farage has only himself to blame. Nigel Farage refuses to discuss employing his mistress. The end. Thank fucking God. There you go, folks. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Jackanori for sadists and people who desperately need to vomit up their dinner. Yeah. Oh God, Lawrence, that fucking. I'm fascinated by that, because I don't know what to make of that Lawrence Southern EU speech thing. I just want to I would like to take the video and just take a still and just like green screen it and stand in front of just Lawrence Southern and then just go, this is my speech to the EU. I believe it was the greatest and most underappreciated poet laureate from the Wu-Tang Clan, ODB, who said somebody got to be tapping that ass because that ass is too hot to be not to be getting tapped. And in many ways, that reminds me of the fishing industry. Well, hopefully she went mental afterwards, and I mean mental in a good way, like fucking, you know, like someone who's left a boy band and just does shitloads of cocaine and bangs loads of Eastern European prostitutes and puts on 2 stone, you know. Oh, I hope she starts fucking. I hope she has a fucking lesbian affair with Farage's German wife and the French mistress, and then starts dating his sons when they're old enough. And does them all on film. Not that it's probably possible for that to be recorded. I think the camera would just fucking give up. But anyway, folks, I'm going to have to go now. Been nearly 3 hours. I'm surprised my battery lasted that long. This has been wonderful. This is it's nice to be back, and I'll probably be doing a few more live streams a bit more frequently, because like I said, I've got videos I'm working on, but they will be eventually, and they're going to be a little bit longer, hopefully though. And I'll try and do some more sort of like simple videos that don't require several months to put forward, because I'm just not me. I need to sort of get my head out my arse. But I've been having performance anxiety with YouTube for a little while now. It's I know this might sound ridiculous, hearing me say this, but even I can have a crisis of confidence sometimes. And then I remember I'm Dick fucking Coughlan. Good night. May God be less, and where there's no sense, there's no feeling.